Hi, everybody. This is Jim Feist in Las Vegas. I've had a run in the first 5 weeks. Been awesome. Sunday free plays coming up. I'm going to tell you about that. But I'm on a great run, 3-0 in my NFL games of the year. My situational game of the year, the Steelers, 43-18. My blowout game of the year, the Seahawks, 26-0. And last week, the non-conference game of the year, Giants, underdog, 24-10 over Buffalo. This week, my NFL TV game of the year goes on Sunday. It's a $99 play. It's yours right here online at jimfeist.com. That's $99 right here at jimfeist.com. Or you can get it as a special for $19 along with two other NFL plays at 1-855-846-7426. That's 1-855-846-20, or that's 7426. I'll do it one more time. 1-855-846-7426. And the game of the year comes also with a guarantee. That's right. The game is guaranteed. If you don't win the game, you get the rest of October free on me. But that's negative thinking. The game will win. The other two plays will win. $19, 1-855-846-7426. Or you can buy it right now online, jimfeist.com. And don't forget, you can always sign up for free plays by texting WINNER to 313131, and we'll send you free plays each and every day right to your cell phone. Now let's talk a little bit about NFL football. The Jacksonville Jaguars go to Tampa. We all know what's going on with Jameis Winston. He's still throwing the ball too frequently to the other team. He is turnover prone. He's a young guy coming out of college, tremendous athletic ability, but he has a lot to learn. Jaguars are a 3-point underdog going to Tampa. Now, no big deal with the Jaguars. They find ways to lose too. They should have beat Indianapolis, but they couldn't kick the ball straight, which happened a lot in the NFL last weekend. I think they set a record for missed field goals in one weekend. Buffalo goes to Tennessee. Buffalo had 17 penalties last week. That's right, 17. I think they set some kind of a record. Buffalo goes down to Tennessee. They're a 4-point favorite, but now it's down to 1.5. A lot of money came in on Tennessee early this week. Cleveland, who almost beat San Diego last week, but they found another way to lose. A penalty at the end of the game on a bad kick, and they gave the other team, San Diego, a chance to re-kick, and they beat them. Now they travel cross-country to play a division rival, Baltimore, who is really struggling. Steve Smith, their wide receiver, is out. This team is decimated with injuries. They have lack of talent at wide receiver anyway. They're going to run the ball a lot in this game because that's what they got left, is a good running game. They've sort of developed that over the first 4 games. So look for them to try to run the ball down Cleveland's throat, and that has been one of the weaknesses for Cleveland. Washington, coming off the big win, which was a great confidence booster for Kirk Cousins last week when they beat Philadelphia. I think they had a 50-yard drive at the end of the game. Big win for them. They go to Atlanta, who is 4-0 and doing absolutely nothing wrong so far this year. It's absolutely incredible. Quinn has done a great job as the head coach. They're 4-0. They're beating the spread. They're killing people. They're scoring points right and left. And they are a 7-point favorite over Washington in this spot. Great game to watch. Chicago Bears go to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs started the season off by playing some really tough games. 3 of the 4 games they have played, and they've lost, were against really strong opposition. The one team they did beat was Houston, who just doesn't seem to be able to do anything right this year. And we'll talk a little bit about them later. Chicago, they're showing some signs on defense of being okay. They got Forte at running back, very talented young man. And Cutler came back last week and played reasonably well, but that was against Oakland. They did eke out a win there. New Orleans goes to Philadelphia. Heartbreaking defeat if anybody had Dallas plus the 3.5 last week, where New Orleans goes into overtime and they run it down their throat in overtime, winning by 6. That was a tough loss. I was there with Dallas plus 3.5 for the money, and I had to pay on that one. But this should be a good game. Philadelphia, with the genius head coach that tried to do everything that no one else agrees with, and he's not getting away with it right now. It's not developing for him at the moment. It could. I mean, we're only 4 games in. He could turn it around. After all, he did have 2 10-6 years the past 2 years, but he did break down this team quite a bit in the offseason. So the Saints are very diminished on defense. Breeze is a little bit older, but he still can get the job done. Should be an interesting game. I'm not sure both these teams are not going backwards, but we'll see a lot in this game. The Rams defeated Arizona last week in a division rivalry. They went to Arizona after really 2 bad games against Washington and Pittsburgh, and then they beat Arizona. Green Bay, of course, is Green Bay. They struggled a little bit last week, I think mostly because they weren't into the game that much against San Francisco, but they did win. They did cover. They're back home. They're a covering machine at home, but they're playing a very physical St. Louis Rams team. And if Jeff Fisher gets this team up and they do play like they can play, which sometimes they just don't, they could cover this 9-point line. It opened 10. I see some 10s, very few of them anymore. Mostly I'm seeing 8. So that's kind of a weird thing. You see that kind of a spread, an 8 and a 10 in the same game. Interesting. Seattle, who I guess a lot of people are going to say they eked out a victory over Detroit. Bottom line is Seattle was the better team. It just was a very tight game. But Seattle's offensive line this year has been allowing a lot of pressure on Russell Wilson. 18 sacks, lots of rushes, lots of hurries, and he's getting knocked around quite a bit. Cincinnati, 4-0 on the season. Talent-wise, there's nobody in the league has better talent than Cincinnati. We all know that they're, they're a great regular season team. But when it gets to the playoffs, that's where they fall apart. But we're not talking about playoffs here. We're talking about regular season, Seattle cross-country trip, early start against Cincinnati, who is 4-0. Cincinnati is a 3-point favorite. Question is, can the Super Bowl type team come back and start to play like that, or have they been decimated on the offensive line too much for that to happen? Now, Arizona, coming off the loss, as I told you a few minutes ago against the Rams, go on the road and they play Detroit, who had the tough loss at Seattle. Very physical team, Seattle. They do beat you up when you play them. And now they got to bounce back from that and play a game at home as a 3-point underdog to Arizona. Very tough proposition here for the Lions, especially against a team like Arizona, who is very mad about losing a game in division at home. Now, New England goes to Dallas. You know, Dallas last year was quite a team. They had the running back, DeMarco Murray, you had Des Bryant, you had Tony Romo. Guess what? All those guys are gone. Right now, it's Whedon. And I think the Dunbar was the running back. Well, he tore his MCL and ACL last week in the Saints loss. And now, I mean, their running game is really not even close to what it was a year ago, not even close to what people thought or they were telling us it would be. Brandon Whedon is a pretty good quarterback. I think a lot of people knock him. He's 0-10 as a starter and all that stuff. But a lot of times when you're a starter for a team, it depends on the team you're playing for, you know, and the offensive line you have. Quarterbacks don't win games by themselves. They need running backs. They need wide receivers. They need an offensive line. They don't do it by themselves. Or you can put up a lot of points and your defense gives up more points. That goes back to the day of Dan Fouts. We could score 50 and the defense will give up 51. So it comes down to Whedon is good. Whedon can play in this league and he's very capable of leading you to victory. But he's playing the Patriots. They're coming off a week off. Belichick, preparation time, extra preparation time. Tom Brady, who's on a mission. So sort of embarrassed the NFL because of what they tried to do in the offseason. I'm not stepping in the way of the New England Patriots, especially with a team that's decimated at running back. And Sean Lee got banged up on defense last week. He should come back. They're saying he's coming back. I'm not 100% sure he's going to be 100%. They did pick up a couple guys that come off suspension. It's going to be an interesting game, but I'm not getting in the way of the Patriots here. They're too tough to beat, especially if you're not healthy. Denver goes to Oakland. We all know what's happening with Denver at this point after watching them for 4 games. Peyton Manning is not the Peyton Manning of old, but he doesn't have to be. He's very, very intelligent. He knows how to carve up a defense. He knows how to read a defense. He knows how to prepare for a game. And he has a good enough arm to throw those little dink 5 and 10, 15-yard passes with an occasional deep pass, which he almost has to put his whole body into it to get it there. But this guy is a professional, and he's a master. He's like a master chess player. Their defense is incredibly strong, and their running game is very efficient off of last week's performance. They're playing Oakland, who happened to go on the road last week and lost to Chicago, who is not that good a football team. Now, granted, that's tough because it was their second straight East Coast trip for Oakland, which they won the week before at Cleveland, which is no big shakes. But this is a tough division rival where you got a home dog catching 4.5. Game open 5.5. The money's come in on Oakland. I just don't see. I don't have a lot of confidence in Oakland yet. I know they have a better roster this year and perhaps a better coaching staff this year than they've had. I don't see a lot of points in this game, though. I do see this game being a real grind-out type of game. San Francisco goes to the Giants. I don't know what to say. In the beginning, I thought San Francisco was going to be a train wreck. When they opened up against Minnesota and Minnesota buried them, I said, boy, I scratched my head. I said, was I wrong about this? Is San Francisco actually going to be better than I thought they were? They got the coach, who was really not a head coach. He was elevated. Tom Sula, a couple of backup coaches, assistant coaches that you really don't know. Are they really going to improve? Well, the next 3 weeks proved that they have not improved. And the Giants, who blew the game unbelievably against Dallas, is now beating Buffalo on the road. They're playing pretty well. Their defense is actually shored up. Tom Coughlin is doing another masterful job as the head coach. Eli has been solid. He's only had 1 interception on the season. Tough. San Francisco cross-country trip, 7-point underdog against the New York Giants. Giants have never been great shakes laying points at home. But this is a spot here where a lot of not a lot, but enough of the sharp money is actually taking the 7 here. I'm not quite understanding that move any more than what I saw in Houston the other night on Thursday night when Indianapolis went to Houston. Indianapolis opened a 1-point favorite, ended up 5.5 Houston. I'm shaking my head. I said, why are they betting on Houston like this? You got Mallett at quarterback, who is not proven winner in the league. Their defense has given up points. Why is Indianapolis with Hasselbeck getting this many points when they opened the favorite? Andrew Luck is no great shakes. He's got the worst quarterback rating in the league, 65.1. Hasselbeck played reasonably well last week against Jacksonville. Why are they betting on Houston? Well, when you watched the game, you knew that the sharp money that moved all those numbers was wrong. And we gave out Indianapolis knowing that Hasselbeck is very efficient, and they won the game. It was an easy winner. Now, we're going to go to the Monday night game, Pittsburgh at San Diego. San Diego has offensive line problems. 3 guys on the offensive line are banged up. Some of them are coming back, but the big key for San Diego is Gates is coming back at tight end, and that is Phillip Rivers' favorite target. That's right. His favorite target is coming back in Game 5 after a suspension of Gates. He's coming back. Philadelphia is going to have a little bit more practice time because they have the longer rest period in between games, and Michael Vick is going to have more time to prepare and get ready for the starting role, which he was a little bit rusty last time he played, but he still played pretty reasonable. Now they get Martavius Bryant back, who's another great wide receiver. Pittsburgh on offense is loaded. If they had been Big Ben, this team would be absolutely incredible. And he will come back eventually, but right now we have to worry about what is Michael Vick going to bring to the field. Is he going to make any bonehead plays like he did years ago? Or is he going to try to protect the ball and not turn it over like he did the last time against Baltimore? He wasn't that bad considering how little playing time. The guy was only signed in August, so he really hasn't been with the team that long. If he improves any off that, they're going to be tough to beat in this game, even with Gates coming back.